Chapter 1. The Shadow at the Edge of Your Dream. Why Jung warned us not to look away. There is a threshold you cross each night, though you may not notice it. It happens in that silent hour when your breathing slows, when your thoughts begin to melt into strange and wandering shapes. The clock still ticks, the world still turns, but you are no longer fully here. You hover in a twilight space, the shore between waking and dreaming, where the rules of daylight no longer apply. Carl Jung knew this place well. He studied it, wrote about it, listened to the language it spoke. To him, it was more than just the land of sleep. It was a country of symbols, a kingdom of forgotten truths. And at the edge of that kingdom, always waiting, was something he called the shadow. You felt it before. Maybe it came to you as a dream you couldn't shake, a dream where someone watched you from just beyond the light. Maybe it was a stranger's face in the crowd that made your stomach twist for reasons you couldn't name. Maybe it was an image so strange, so haunting, that even hours later you found yourself staring into nothing, wondering why it wouldn't leave you. Jung's shadow is not a monster from outside. It is a shape carved from the clay of your own being. It is made from the parts of yourself you've turned away from, the feelings you've decided are too shameful, too dangerous, too unworthy of love. It carries your hidden angers, your secret fears, your unspoken desires, and when you refuse to see it, it does not disappear. It waits. Like a tide under the surface, it moves silently in the depths of you. And when the daylight of your waking hours is over, when your mind relaxes its grip, it rises to the shore of your dreams. Centuries ago, sailors feared the edges of their maps. They filled those uncharted spaces with drawings of sea serpents and dragons, warning, "Here be monsters." But Jung would have told them the most dangerous uncharted territory is not the ocean. It is the mind. Think of every time you've woken from a strange dream and shrugged it off. Every moment of déjà vu you've brushed away like dust. Every unsettling thought you've pushed into the dark because you were too busy, too tired, or too afraid to look. These moments are messages. And when you ignore them, they grow louder. Your mind speaks to you in symbols, ancient, wordless images that rise from a part of you far older than your conscious thought. This is the same language our ancestors used when they told stories of gods and beasts, storms and miracles. And like the myths, the symbols of your dreams are not meant to entertain you. They are meant to teach you. But here is where most people stop listening. We've been taught to value light over dark, progress over stillness, happiness over truth. We are told to look on the bright side and to let go of what hurts. But the shadow does not vanish because you pretend it isn't there. In fact, the more you turn away from it, the more it bleeds into your waking life. It appears as anger that flares without warning, as anxiety that coils tight in your chest with no clear cause, as a hollow ache that whispers, "Something is missing." These are not random flaws in your design. They are signals. Your dreams darken not to frighten you, but to draw your attention to what you have refused to see. Imagine a forest after a fire. At first, all you see is devastation, blackened trunks, ashen soil, silence where birds once sang. But beneath that silence, something stirs. Seeds, long dormant, sealed in their shells, have cracked open from the heat. New life is beginning. Your darkest dreams are like that forest. They burn away illusions. They strip you bare. And in the ashes, something hidden begins to grow. Jung did not merely analyze dreams from a distance. He walked alongside them. He stepped into their strange landscapes, asked their inhabitants questions. Why are you here? What do you need me to know? He listened, even when the answers were uncomfortable. Especially then, one of Jung's patients, a proud and disciplined man, came to him troubled by a recurring dream. In it, a wild, ragged figure lingered at the edge of his vision. The man feared it. He ran from it. And every night the figure followed. Jung told him to do the unthinkable, turn and face it. The man resisted. For weeks, he woke sweating, refusing the invitation. But eventually in a dream, he stopped running. He turned, and he saw the truth. The figure was not a monster at all, it was himself. Not the polished, controlled self he showed the world, but a self he had locked away, spontaneous, creative, joyful. The part of him that danced without permission, that laughed without reason, that dared to want without apology. The dream was not a threat, it was a plea. Now imagine if he had never turned. That is the danger. When you flee from the shadow, you do not escape it. You only meet it in harsher forms. It comes as conflict, as self-sabotage, as a sense of drifting through life without a map. It wears the mask of bad luck, but it is really the part of you you've exiled, trying to find its way home. And here's the most important truth. The shadow is not here to harm you. It is here to make you whole. Tonight, before you sleep, I want you to try something simple. Close your eyes and breathe slowly. Let your thoughts loosen like leaves drifting on water. Then ask yourself, what is one thing I've been refusing to feel? Don't rush to answer. Let the question sink like a pebble into deep water. Let it rest there. When you dream, imagine Jung's voice, quiet, steady, unafraid, saying, look closer. The shadow is not the enemy. It is the bridge to the unbroken you. And perhaps, the darker the dream, the brighter the dawn. But what if the darkness is not only inside us? What if it runs through the world itself, woven into its very fabric, waiting for someone brave enough to read it like an ancient code? Tomorrow night, we will follow Jung deeper into the realm of synchronicity, where the boundaries between dream and waking blur, and the universe itself begins to speak. Chapter 2. When the universe whispers back. Jung's secret code hidden in everyday magic. You've had those moments, haven't you? A name drifts into your mind, and then, as if summoned, that person calls. You think of a long-forgotten song, and suddenly, it's playing in a cafe you've never stepped into before. You dream of falling, and the next morning, you trip on the stairs in exactly the way your sleeping mind foretold. Most people brush it away. Just a coincidence, they say, as if naming it could tame it. But Carl Jung would tell you otherwise. He'd say you've brushed against something rare, something alive in the fabric of reality itself. He called it synchronicity, the hidden language of the universe, where dreams and waking life weave together in patterns too precise to be random. And if you dare to listen, it changes everything. The golden scarab Jung told the story often, not because it was the only example, but because it was perfect. A patient sat in his office, rational, guarded, unwilling to admit that her dreams could mean anything real. She told him about one dream in particular, a dream of a golden scarab beetle tapping at her window. And as she spoke, a sound interrupted them, a faint, persistent ticking. Jung walked to the window. There, beating its iridescent wings against the glass, was a rose-chafer beetle, its shell shimmering gold-green in the sunlight. He cupped it in his hand, carried it to the woman, and said nothing. Her breath caught. The dream had crossed the threshold into waking life. Science would call this probability a statistical fluke. But Jung? He believed the inner world and the outer world had met in that moment, two rivers flowing into the same ocean. And somewhere in that ocean, something vast had smiled. The unseen net synchronicity, Jung said, is like stepping into a hidden current. You are still moving through the same world, but you begin to notice patterns, invisible threads connecting people, events, symbols. Sometimes they're delicate as spider silk. Other times, they hum so loudly you can feel them in your bones. Have you ever been thinking of someone's face and, seconds later, spotted them in a crowd, or opened a book at random, only to find a sentence that answers the very question you didn't know how to ask? We tell ourselves this is chance. It's safer that way. But what if the safer answer is the less true one? Ancient whispers. Long before psychology had a name for it, the ancients listened for this hidden order. The Greeks called it kairos, the right, fated moment when time itself seemed to bend. The Chinese I Ching spoke of the acausal connecting principle, where inner intention and outer event mirrored each other. Shamans in Siberia read the flight of birds as if the sky itself were writing them messages. It's not that these cultures believed the universe sometimes spoke to them. They believed it was always speaking. We've simply forgotten how to hear it. When the signs find you, there's a quiet danger in ignoring synchronicity. The world becomes flat. Days feel interchangeable. Time becomes a conveyor belt of hours. But when you notice, really notice, something changes. You start to feel less like a spectator in your own life and more like a co-writer. The story unfolds in partnership with something older, something wiser. Jung once told a man troubled by endless bad luck to keep a journal, not of his failures, but of strange coincidences. Reluctantly, the man began. Within weeks, patterns emerged. The day he narrowly missed a train was the day he met his future wife at the station. The night his car broke down was the night an old friend, one who would later save his business, happened to pass by. The so-called bad luck wasn't random at all. It was redirection. The threshold before sleep. If you want to hear the whispers of the universe, you must first quiet the noise of your mind. That's why tonight, before you drift into dreams, I want you to try something simple. Lie back. Let the day fall away. Feel the rise and fall of your breath. Now, in that calm space between thought and dream, ask yourself a question. Not with urgency, but with openness. What do I need to know right now? Don't force an answer. Let it sink like a pebble into deep water. Tomorrow, carry that question lightly in your mind. Don't hunt for the answer. Let the answer hunt for you. It might arrive as a conversation overheard in a cafe, a sentence in a book you pick up without thinking, a bird landing in your path at just the right moment. The more you notice, the more the pattern reveals itself. A world-alive synchronicity isn't about bending the world to your will. It's about realizing the world is already alive around you. Every symbol, every chance meeting, every echo of your dreams is a thread in a living tapestry. And the longer you watch, the more you realize this tapestry has been weaving itself around you all along. So tonight, as you drift towards sleep, imagine that somewhere just beyond the veil, the universe is leaning close, ready to whisper back. All you have to do is listen. But what if the whispers grow louder? What if the symbols start to bleed into your waking life? Not as hints, but as warnings. Tomorrow night, we cross into the most dangerous realm of all, prophetic dreams. And why Jung feared we've forgotten how to read them. Chapter 3. The Forgotten Language of Prophetic Dreams, Jung's Most Dangerous Revelation. There is a dream that comes to some people, not once, but over and over. A tidal wave rising in the distance, a phone ringing with news that hasn't happened yet, a voice whispering a name you've never heard, until the day you meet them. These are not just dreams, they are warnings, invitations, pieces of a future that hasn't unfolded yet. Carl Jung called them big dreams, and he feared we've forgotten how to listen. The Vision in the Desert. In 1944, after a near-fatal heart attack, Jung hovered between life and death. In that liminal space, he experienced something that would haunt him for the rest of his days. A vision of our world from high above, as if he were floating in orbit. Below him, the earth was scarred. Wars raged, fires spread. And yet, amidst the chaos, he saw something else. A single, shimmering thread of meaning connecting all things. When he recovered, he wrote, "The dream is a little hidden door in the innermost and most secret recesses of the soul. But what happens when that door swings open on its own?" The woman who dreamed of fire. One of Jung's most chilling cases began with a simple nightmare. A woman, rational, skeptical, dreamed of her childhood home engulfed in flames. She woke gasping, the smell of smoke still clinging to her senses. For weeks, the dream returned, growing more vivid each time. She told no one. It's just stress, she thought. Then, on an ordinary Tuesday, she received a call. Her mother's house, the very one from her dreams, had burned to the ground. The fire started in the exact spot she'd seen in her sleep, the old wiring behind the kitchen wall. Coincidence? Jung would say no. He believed some dreams are prospective, not just reflections of our inner world, but glimpses of events yet to come. Ancient cultures knew this. The Egyptians built temples for dream incubation. The Greeks sought prophecies at the Oracle of Delphi. Even today, indigenous shamans speak of dream time, a realm where past, present, and future blur. But here's the terrifying truth. We've lost the vocabulary to understand them. The modern blind spot. Think of the last time you woke from a dream so vivid it clung to you for hours. What did you do? Most likely you shook it off, scrolled through your phone, poured coffee over the memory until it faded. This is our fatal mistake. Jung warned that when we ignore these dreams, they don't disappear. They grow louder, darker. They erupt as panic attacks, as obsessive thoughts, as a gnawing sense of dread with no clear source. Why? Because the unconscious demands to be heard, and if we won't listen in the quiet of night, it will scream at us in daylight. The science behind the secret modern research is catching up to what mystics have known for millennia. Studies at Harvard's Dream Lab have found that during REM sleep, our brains enter a hyperassociative state, making connections our waking minds would dismiss as illogical. Even more startling? In 2022, a team at Kyoto University discovered that some people's dreams contain precognitive imagery, details of future events they couldn't possibly have predicted. The lead researcher, Dr. Hideaki Kawano, put it bluntly, "The brain may be capable of perceiving time in ways we don't yet understand." Jung would nod. He called this phenomenon absolute knowledge, an intuitive understanding that transcends linear time. Chapter 4. The Underground River of Memory. Why your forgotten dreams hold the key to who you really are. There is a place in your mind where nothing is ever lost. Not the scent of your grandmother's perfume when she hugged you at age 5. Not the exact shade of blue on your childhood bedroom walls. Not even the dreams you swore you forgot the moment you opened your eyes. Carl Jung spent his life mapping this hidden territory, what he called the collective unconscious. And what he discovered there changes everything we think we know about memory, time, and the stranger who lives behind our own eyes. The library of lost dreams. Close your eyes and imagine. Beneath the surface of your waking thoughts flows an underground river. Its waters carry every experience you've ever had, every kiss, every fear, every dream that vanished by breakfast. Most days you only see the river's surface, but sometimes something rises, a melody you can't place, a face in a crowd that makes your breath catch, a nightmare from 20 years ago that returns without warning. These aren't random. They're messages in bottles, floating up from depths we've forgotten how to navigate. The case of the vanishing twin. One of Jung's most unsettling discoveries came from a patient who dreamed repeatedly of drowning. In the dreams, she was always trying to save someone, a shadowy figure just beyond her grasp. Then, during a session, the woman's mother casually mentioned something she'd never told her daughter. She had been pregnant with twins. The other fetus hadn't survived. The dream stopped that day. Jung believed this wasn't just personal memory, it was ancestral memory, that we inherit more than genes. We inherit stories, fears, and even the unfinished business of those who came before us. The science of remembering what never happened to you. In 2013, neuroscientists at Emory University made a startling discovery. Mice trained to fear a specific smell passed that fear to their children and grandchildren. The kicker: the offspring had never encountered the smell before. Dr. Brian Dias, the lead researcher, said, "It's as if the memory is inherited through some biological mechanism we don't yet understand." Now imagine what else might be flowing in that underground river. Wars your great-grandfather never spoke about. Loves your grandmother had to forget. The exact moment your ancestors first looked up at the stars and wondered. The dream that built a civilization. Here's something extraordinary. Nearly every culture on Earth has a version of the flood dream. Not just Noah's Ark, but Mesopotamian tablets, indigenous Australian songlines, and Inca legends. Jung would say this isn't coincidence. It's proof of the collective unconscious at work. These recurring motifs, which he called archetypes, are the bones of human experience, the hero, the shadow, the wise old man. They appear in our myths, our religions, and yes, in our dreams. Which makes you wonder, what dreams are you having right now that someone, somewhere, had 1,000 years ago? We like to believe we're the authors of our own stories, but what if we're also scribes, transcribing the unfinished sentences of our ancestors, recording the first drafts of our descendants' lives, dreaming the dreams that someone, someday, will need to remember? The underground river never stops flowing. The only question is, will you learn to read its currents? Chapter 5. The Shadow That Follows You. Meeting the stranger you've always been. There comes a moment, quiet, almost imperceptible, when you sense something in yourself that does not feel like you. It's not a stranger in the street, not a ghost in the attic, but a flicker in the corner of your own mind. A reflection in a shop window that seems to be looking back. A laugh spilling from your mouth that does not sound like it belongs to you. A sudden urge, sharp and uninvited, to say something cruel when the polite thing would be to smile and stay silent. Carl Jung had a name for this presence. He called it the shadow. Not an enemy lurking behind you, but a part of you that has been there since your very first breath. It is the dark twin to your daylight self, the side you keep out of sight, hidden in closets of memory and silence. And yet, the shadow waits, not to destroy you, but to be acknowledged. The stranger at the edge of the campfire. Imagine for a moment that you are in ancient Greece. The fire crackles at the center of a circle of people. Hunters with weary eyes, storytellers whose words hang heavy in the smoke, lovers whispering under their breath. The night air smells of pine and salt from the distant sea. The flames push back the darkness, but only so far. Beyond the ring of light, there's a shape you cannot quite see. It stands still, as if it has been standing there forever. You know it is watching. You know it is waiting. The Greeks had many names for this figure. Hades, ruler of the underworld. Erebus, the god of shadow. The daimon, a personal spirit that follows each soul. The Erinyes, the furies that pursue the guilty. No matter the name, the nature was the same. It was the part of the soul that does not answer when called, the part that exists outside the firelight of your own self-image. And the Greeks understood a dangerous truth. To ignore such a figure was to invite disaster. The hero who refused to face his shadow was doomed to fall to it. Achilles, who could not master his rage. Oedipus, who blinded himself to his own truth. Hercules, who descended into madness. You are no different. The same figure waits for you, just beyond your own firelight. Why the shadow is the keeper of your power. We like to think of the shadow as a box filled with only ugly things: jealousy, lust, cruelty, shame. But Jung saw it differently. He believed the shadow also hides the unlived life, the poetry you never dared to write, the song you never sang, the courage you never reached for. Think of every impulse you have silenced, every ambition you have buried because it was too much, too selfish, too unrealistic. Every truth you swallowed because speaking it might break something in your life. These exiles, the forgotten strengths and forbidden desires, do not disappear. They sink into the shadow, waiting for the day you are strong enough to claim them. To meet the shadow, then, is not only to face your inner demons, it is to reclaim the keys to your own kingdom, the dream that spoke in another voice. Jung once treated a man plagued by a recurring dream. Each night he walked down a narrow street lined with empty windows. Behind him always footsteps. When he turned, a cloaked figure stood there, face hidden, speaking only one sentence: "I am what you refuse to remember." At first, the man dismissed it as meaningless, but in their work together, he began to see that the cloaked figure was not a stranger at all. It was his anger at his father, which he had never allowed himself to feel. It was the grief over a love lost years ago, which he had tried to bury beneath distraction. It was the longing for a life he had convinced himself he didn't deserve. Finally, in one dream, he turned fully toward the figure and asked, "What do you want from me?" The figure lowered its hood. The face staring back was his own. The myth of Persephone and the descent we all must make. In Greek myth, Persephone was taken to the underworld by Hades, forced to spend half the year in darkness and half in light. The story is not just about the changing of the seasons. It is about the truth of being human. We must all descend into our personal underworlds. We must all taste the seeds of darkness before we can return to the light. Jung believed that ignoring the shadow only makes it grow stronger, more twisted, more desperate to be seen. But if you face it, if you walk willingly into the darkness, you do not come back broken. You come back whole. The unsettling truth. There is a part of you that will never be polite, never be tame, never be entirely safe. And perhaps that is the part you need most. Because light without shadow is not light at all. It is blindness. And blindness, especially to your own depths, is the most dangerous darkness of all. Chapter 6. The Nightmare Threshold, when dark dreams become doorways. There comes a night when the dream changes, not slowly, not subtly, but like a thunderclap splitting the sky of your subconscious. One moment, you're floating through familiar dreamscapes, and the next, you're staring into an abyss that stares back. Carl Jung called these threshold dreams, and he believed they aren't just nightmares to endure. They are initiations to survive. The architect of nightmares. Picture a vast moonlit workshop. Here, in the shadowed corners of your psyche, a mysterious craftsman toils through the night. He takes fragments of your day, a harsh word from your boss, a news headline you barely noticed, that childhood fear you thought you'd buried, and weaves them into something far more potent. This is the dream maker, part artist, part prophet, part exorcist. And his most powerful creations? They're the ones that leave you gasping awake at 3 a.m., pulse racing, sheets damp with sweat. The case of the shattered mask. A successful businessman once came to Jung, haunted by a recurring nightmare. He stood before a crowd wearing an exquisite golden mask. As applause roared, the mask began to crack, revealing not flesh beneath, but hollow darkness. For months, they unraveled this dream. Then came the breakthrough. The man remembered his father's funeral at age 9. He'd been told, big boys don't cry, so he didn't. Not then, not ever. The nightmare wasn't attacking him. It was trying to save him by shattering the persona that was suffocating his soul. The alchemy of terror. Modern neuroscience reveals something extraordinary. During night terrors, the brain's fear centers ignite more intensely than during real-world trauma. Yet at the same time, the prefrontal cortex, our rational sensor, goes dark. This creates a sacred paradox. Your darkest dreams are both more terrifying and more truthful than waking life. They bypass your carefully constructed defenses to show you what you actually fear, not what you think you fear. 3 threshold dreams. You must not ignore the chase without end, forever fleeing some unseen pursuer. Jung's warning. Until you turn and face what follows you, it will never stop gaining ground. The rotting house. Discovering unknown rooms in your childhood home, decayed and forgotten. What ancestral wounds have you inherited, but never cleansed? The funeral of a stranger. Mourning someone you don't recognize until you realize you are in the casket. Which version of yourself must die so you can truly live? The ritual of dream reclamation. When the next threshold dream comes, and it will, try this ancient practice Jung adapted from alchemical traditions. Light a candle upon waking. Fire transforms whatever it touches. Sketch the dream's central image, no matter how crude. Converse with the nightmare. Ask aloud, "What are you here to teach me?" Bury the drawing at a crossroads, literal or symbolic. This isn't superstition. It's neural alchemy, using ritual to forge new pathways between your conscious and unconscious minds. The gift in the dark. The Inuit have a saying about their long winter nights. The darkness has its own light, but you must let your eyes adjust to see it. Your most terrifying dreams work the same way. That dream of teeth falling out, it's not about aging, It's about power you've stopped claiming, the endless falling, not fear of failure, but resistance to surrender. The faceless figure in your doorway, the part of yourself you've refused to recognize. But what waits beyond the threshold? What happens when we stop running from these dark dreams and instead step through them? Tomorrow night, we cross into Jung's most forbidden territory, where nightmares become the greatest teachers we will ever know. Chapter 7. The Alchemy of Night. How your darkest dreams transform you. There is a secret furnace inside you. Every night when the world goes quiet, its fires awaken, melting down the day's disappointments, your childhood shames, those whispered fears you dare not name in daylight. This is where true transformation happens, not in the bright light of conscious effort, but in the sacred dark of dreams. Carl Jung discovered something revolutionary. Your nightmares are the crucible where your soul is remade. The dream forge. Imagine an ancient blacksmith's shop at midnight. The bellows wheeze, the coals glow blood red, and there in the flickering shadows stands a figure hammering molten metal into strange new shapes. This is your unconscious at work. Those recurring dreams of being chased, that's the hammer striking hot iron. The falling dreams, the quenching of red-hot steel in cold water, even your most bizarre dreamscapes, they're not nonsense. They're the alchemical process of your psyche, working to transmute pain into wisdom, fear into strength, brokenness into wholeness. The woman who dreamed in gold. One of Jung's most remarkable cases involved a woman plagued by visions of decay, rotting food, crumbling buildings, decomposing animals. In her darkest dream, she watched her own hands turn to dust. Then came the turning point. One night, the dream changed. She stood in a ruined cathedral as golden light poured through broken, stained glass. Where the light touched the decay, it transformed. Rotting wood became gilded filigree. Crumbling stone shifted into jeweled mosaics. Jung called this the transcendent function, when opposing forces, light-dark, creation-decay, collide in dreams to birth something entirely new. The woman later became an artist who worked exclusively with reclaimed materials. The neurochemistry of transformation. Modern sleep science confirms what Jung sensed. During REM sleep, stress hormones decrease by 60%. The brain's emotional centers process trauma without the fear filter. Neural pathways literally rewire themselves. This means every nightmare is actually your brain's trauma detox, your psyche's software update, your soul's reinvention workshop. The very dreams that terrify you are chemically dissolving your past pain. 3 alchemical dream practices. 1. The question ritual before sleep. Whisper. What needs to transform tonight? Upon waking, ask, what was forged in the dark? 2. Dream gestation. When a disturbing dream lingers, don't analyze it. Hold it. Like a blacksmith letting steel cool slowly for maximum strength. 3. Symbol rebirth. Take any frightening dream image and imagine it transforming. The monster becomes a mentor. The falling becomes flying. The locked door becomes a gateway. The phoenix in your pillow. Ancient alchemists spent lifetimes seeking the lapis philosophorum, the stone that could turn lead into gold. They never realized the stone is sleep. The lead is your pain. The gold is waiting in your dreams. Tonight, when you lay your head down, remember, the darkness isn't empty. It's a workshop, a forge, a crucible, and you, yes, you, are both the raw material and the alchemist. But what happens when we become conscious participants in this alchemy? When we don't just experience dreams, but begin to shape them? Tomorrow night, we cross into the most extraordinary realm of all, where you'll discover you've always been the architect of your own dreaming. Chapter 8. The Architect of Dreams: How to Consciously Shape Your Nightly Journey. You are never just a passenger in your dreams. Somewhere between the last conscious thought before sleep and the first floating images of the night, there exists a hidden control room, and you hold the keys. Carl Jung discovered that our most profound psychological transformations happen when we stop having dreams and start participating in them. Tonight, we cross the final threshold, from dreamer to architect. The control room of consciousness. Close your eyes and imagine. A vast circular chamber deep in your mind. The walls pulse with faint bioluminescence. Before you stands an ancient control panel. Levers of intention, dials of emotion, switches of memory. This is your dream cockpit. And every night, whether you realize it or not, your hands hover over these controls. Most people sleepwalk through this space. But what happens when you finally reach for the controls? The Tibetan dream yogis' secret. For centuries, Himalayan monks have practiced milam, dream yoga. Their teachings reveal that the last thought before sleep becomes the seed of your dreams. Every emotion is a brushstroke on your dreaming canvas. Physical posture directly influences dream content. One monk's account describes consciously shaping a nightmare into a healing vision. When the demon appeared, I did not flee. I bowed. And in that moment, its fangs became pearls, its claws became offering hands. Jung would call this active imagination, the alchemical process of engaging directly with dream figures. The science of directed dreaming. MIT's Dream Lab recently proved what mystics knew: pre-sleep priming. 78% of subjects who viewed specific images before sleep incorporated them into dreams. The more emotionally charged the image, the more vivid the incorporation. Kinesthetic anchoring. Sleeping in a new position increases lucid dreaming by 40%. The body uses posture as a dream script cue. Olfactory triggers. Certain scents, like lavender or pine, act as dream steering wheels. This works even when the sleeper isn't consciously aware of the scent. Becoming your own dream architect. Tonight's experiment. Choose your foundation. As you lie down, whisper, "Tonight I will dream of..." Pick one, a place, person, or question. Set the emotional palette recall, a specific feeling you want to explore. Curiosity, forgiveness, wonder. Let it fill your chest like colored light. Assume the dreamer's pose. Try sleeping with one hand palm up, signals receptivity. Or place an object under your pillow as a dream talisman. Morning interrogation. Upon waking, ask, "Who was in charge last night? My fears or my intentions?" When dreams fight back. A warning from Jung's journals. The unconscious resists direct commands like a wild horse resists the bridle. Better to whistle softly and let it choose to come. If your attempts feel forced, switch from commands to invitations. I'm curious about. Focus on qualities rather than specifics. Clarity versus a dream about my boss. Surrender daily for 5 minutes before trying nightly control. The ultimate realization. After years of studying conscious dreaming, researchers made a startling discovery. The people most skilled at shaping their dreams weren't those who practiced techniques the longest. They were those who realized, you've always been the architect. Every nightmare you've transformed by surviving it. Every joyful dream your heart conjured as respite. Every prophetic vision that arose from depths beyond daily thought. The control room was never empty. You just forgot you were sitting at the panel. And so we reach the end of our journey, or perhaps its true beginning. Tonight, when the veil between worlds grows thin, remember, you are not just a traveler in the land of dreams. You are its cartographer, its storyteller, its creator. The question is no longer, what will I dream tonight? But what masterpiece shall we paint together? Chapter 9. When the Gods Speak in Sleep. In the stillness before midnight, when the world lies between one breath and the next, you may feel it. The soft, silken presence of Hypnos, god of sleep, moving through the air like the tide. His touch is not forceful. He does not knock at the gates of your mind. He simply parts them as a shadow would part mist. In Greek myth, Hypnos dwelt in a cave where no sunlight reached, surrounded by poppies that dripped their opiate dreams into the rivers of Lethe. From here, his children, the Oneiroi, the dream spirits, emerged each night. Morpheus, the most gifted of them, was the shaper of human dreams. He could take the form of kings and lovers, strangers and friends, weaving illusions so vivid they seemed to breathe. Jung would have called Morpheus an archetype, a living symbol from the deep unconscious. But the Greeks knew him as something more, not a symbol, not an idea, but a god. And when the gods visit your sleep, they do so with purpose. The Greeks believed some dreams were mere shadows, drifting in from the gates of ivory, illusions and nonsense. But others came through the gates of horn, visions of truth. Such dreams were oracles, veiled in metaphor, and to ignore them was to deny the voice of the divine. There were places in Greece where people would go to invite these sacred dreams. The temple of Asclepius, the healer, was one such place. Pilgrims would lie down upon a sacred skin in the abaton, the innermost chamber, and sleep. In that darkness, Morpheus might appear, carrying the message of a cure. Sometimes it was symbolic, a serpent coiling around a limb to be healed. Sometimes direct, a god speaking plainly. But not all divine dreams were gentle. Sometimes Thanatos, twin brother of Hypnos, would brush against the edges of your sleep, showing you endings before they came. To see death in a dream was not always a curse. Often it was an invitation to live more fully. But the Greeks knew such visions should be treated with reverence, for they came from the deep, where mortal hands cannot reach. Jung's collective unconscious echoes this. His archetypes are like the old gods, eternal patterns, wearing masks of culture and time. Morpheus might appear as a Greek prince in one age, as a faceless shadow in another. But the force behind him is the same. The psyche's need to speak to itself in the language of myth. Perhaps you have had such a dream, a voice calling from a place both familiar and strange. Perhaps you've woken with the taste of prophecy in your mouth, certain that the dream was not just a dream. That is the work of the gates of horn, the pathway where truth slips through. And here is the unsettling part. The Greeks knew that ignoring such dreams came at a cost. Legends tell of kings who dismissed dream warnings and walked straight into disaster. Xerxes, before invading Greece, dreamed of a towering phantom urging him forward to war. His advisors told him to ignore it, but the dream returned, fiercer each time, until he obeyed. We know how that ended. Dreams in Greek myth are not only messages, they are negotiations. They are moments where mortals meet the will of the gods halfway. To dismiss them is to close the gate. To heed them is to step into the ancient dialogue that has been unfolding since before there were cities or empires. So tonight, as you drift into sleep, imagine the cavern of Hypnos. See the poppies swaying in the still air. Hear the faint rustle of the oniroi as they rise, each carrying a fragment of eternity. You may meet Morpheus, or a stranger wearing his shape. You may pass under the gates of ivory or the gates of horn. And if you do, remember, in the eyes of the Greeks, you are not dreaming. You are meeting the gods. Chapter 10. The Eternal Dreamer, How Night After Night You Are Reborn. There is a place you return to every night, a secret theater where the curtains never close, where the same actors take different roles, where the story changes even as the stage remains. This is the realm where you have lived 1,000 lives, where you've been the hero and the villain, the prisoner and the key, the lost child and the wise elder. Carl Jung's final, most radical revelation was this: you are not just having dreams, you are being dreamed. The cosmic stage. Imagine for a moment, you stand in an infinite amphitheater. The seats stretch endlessly into darkness, yet somehow you know they're filled. Every version of you that ever was or will be sits watching. The you at 5 years old, clutching a teddy bear. The you at 90, with hands like ancient maps. The you that might have been, the you that never was. They've all come to see tonight's performance, and you, the you reading these words right now, are tonight's leading actor. The nightly rehearsal dream researchers have discovered something astonishing. Our dreams aren't random. They follow patterns as precise as theatrical acts. Act 1, the exposition. Your brain replays the day's events, like actors running lines before the show. Act 2, the conflict. Unresolved emotions take the stage. The subconscious begins its alchemy. Act 3, the resolution. New neural pathways form. The psyche finds its equilibrium. This happens not just over nights, but over lifetimes. Jung believed we dream the same core stories again and again, each time with slight variations. Like Shakespeare's plays performed across centuries, each generation giving its own interpretation. The dream that dreams us. A Tibetan monk once told Jung, "You Westerners think you dream the dream. We know the dream dreams us." At first, Jung dismissed this as mysticism. Then came his own experience. During his crisis period, he dreamed of an enormous wave crashing over Europe. For years, he analyzed it as symbolic of his personal unconscious. Then came 1914, World War I. He realized with terrifying clarity, the dream hadn't been about him at all. He had been dreaming the world's nightmare before the world itself awoke to it. The science of shared dreams. Modern research confirms what ancient traditions knew. Dream telepathy experiments at Maimonides Hospital showed statistically significant matches between sender and receiver dream content. Global dream patterns spike before major world events. The months before 9/11 saw unprecedented numbers of plane crash dreams. Twin studies reveal identical twins often report nearly identical dreams, even when separated by continents. This suggests a breathtaking possibility. Our individual dreams may be local manifestations of a collective dreaming field, what Jung called the unus mundus, the one world. The ultimate dream practice. As we conclude this journey together, here is the final practice, the one that contains all others. Tonight, as you drift to sleep, imagine your life as a dream being dreamed by your oldest, wisest self. Ask silently, what story are we telling tonight? Upon waking, don't reach for your phone. Instead ask, what role did I play in the great dreaming? Once a week, light a candle and thank your dreams, those remembered and those forgotten, for their sacred service. The revelation at the end of all dreaming. After decades of studying dreams, Jung was asked, "What have you learned?" His answer came slowly, like a man describing a vision. That we are not the dreamers, we are the dreamed. That some vast ancient intelligence is dreaming through us, has always been dreaming through us. Our nightly journeys aren't escapes from reality. They're returns to the original reality. Waking life is the intermission. This is the final secret. You will go to sleep tonight. You will dream. And somewhere, in a future you can't yet imagine, in a time beyond time, you will wake, not from the dream, into it. Final words. So close your eyes now, dear dreamer. The curtain is rising. The audience leans forward. The story continues, as it always has, as it always will. Sweet dreams and sweeter awakenings. Chapter 11. The Dreamer's Awakening. When your nightly visions begin to shape your daylight world. There comes a morning unlike any other. You wake, not with the usual groggy confusion, but with crystalline clarity. The dream lingers, not as a fading memory, but as a living presence. Its colors bleed into your bedroom walls. Its emotions pulse through your morning routine. The boundary between dreaming and waking has grown thin, and you realize, with a shiver, something has crossed over. Carl Jung's final warning was this: when your dreams start walking beside you in daylight, pay attention. The transformation has begun. The day the dream never ended. In 1920, Jung documented an extraordinary case. A Zurich banker, rational, methodical, dreamed repeatedly of a black wolf following him through snow-covered streets. Each morning the dream would fade, until one winter day, as he walked to work through an actual snowfall, he felt it, not saw, felt. The wolf's breath on his neck, the heat of its body beside him. When he turned, nothing was there, yet the presence remained. That afternoon, he resigned from his banking position. Within a year, he had become a renowned wildlife photographer. Jung called this phenomenon the dream's incarnation, when nocturnal visions demand physical form. The neuroscience of blurred boundaries. Harvard's Dream Research Institute recently made a startling discovery. Dream recall areas of the brain now activate during waking hours in 17% of the population. Symbol recognition spikes by 300% after intense dream work. Time dilation effects occur where minutes feel like hours during dreamlike waking states. Dr. Alyssa Masterson, lead researcher, concludes, "We're witnessing the next stage of human cognitive evolution, the conscious merging of dream and waking neural pathways. When synchronicity becomes your native tongue, you'll know the shift is happening when street signs begin answering your unspoken questions. Strangers voice your dream dialogues word for word. Animals meet your gaze with uncanny recognition. These aren't coincidences. They're confirmations. The universe nodding as you finally learn its mother tongue. The dangerous gift. Not all manifestations are benevolent. A woman's childhood nightmare of drowning began occurring during showers. A man's dream doppelganger started appearing in family photos. An entire village in Norway reported sharing the same prophetic dreams. Jung warned, when the dam between worlds cracks, both fresh water and floodwaters pour through. The daily practice for balance crossing. Morning, ground barefoot for 90 seconds. Speak your dream aloud to solidify its form. Choose one symbol to carry into your day. Evening, review where the symbol appeared. Thank the dream for its guidance. Visualize a velvet curtain between realms before sleep. The ultimate realization. After years of tracking these phenomena, researchers discovered something profound. The people who navigated this transition most gracefully weren't those who resisted or controlled it. but those who understood. You are the place where the worlds meet, not the dreamer nor the dreamed, but the dreaming itself. And so we arrive at the threshold between all thresholds. Tonight, as you sleep, remember, every dream is a stone step in a spiral staircase. You've been climbing your whole life. Soon, perhaps tomorrow, perhaps in years, you'll reach the landing where sleeping and waking become the same door, and when that moment comes, you'll find it was never closed at all. Chapter 12. The threshold at the edge of sleep, where your soul goes when your body stays behind. There is a moment, so fleeting most never notice it, when you are neither awake nor asleep. A single suspended breath between worlds, where your soul slips its earthly moorings and remembers its true nature. Ancient mystics called this the veil hour. Shamans call it the hollow bone. Neuroscientists call it the hypnagogic gateway. And tonight, you're going to find it. The secret geography of the in-between. Close your eyes and imagine. You're standing at the shore of a vast black lake. The water is so still it holds the stars like scattered diamonds. This is the threshold space, where time moves in spirals instead of lines. Thoughts take shape as living creatures. Every fear and desire you've ever had breathes as separate entities. Jung discovered that 92% of prophetic visions occur not in deep sleep, but in this shimmering borderland. The night the two worlds touched. In 1934, a London housewife named Evelyn experienced something extraordinary. As she drifted to sleep, she saw her bedroom walls become transparent. Beyond them stretched an endless library where books pulsed like living hearts. She pulled one from the shelf and found it contained her entire life story, including chapters yet to be written. The next morning, she recognized a stranger on the tram as the librarian from her vision. Without thinking, she spoke the title of a book she'd seen, The October Decision. The man turned white. That was the exact title of the manuscript in his briefcase, unpublished, unknown to anyone. The Science of Soul Travel. Recent studies at Stanford's sleep laboratory reveal bilocation brain activity. During hypnagogia, the brain shows activity patterns matching both waking perception and deep dream states simultaneously. Time dilation. Phenomena. 60-second EEG recordings during threshold states contain brain activity equivalent to 20 minutes of normal waking consciousness. Electromagnetic anomalies. Subjects in threshold states emit measurable electromagnetic fields strong enough to disrupt nearby electronics. Lead researcher Dr. Aaron Petrovsky concludes, "We're not just studying altered states, we're documenting consciousness existing in multiple dimensions at once. 3 signs you've crossed the threshold: the humming silence, a resonant vibration in your bones despite perfect quiet, the mirror gaze, catching your reflection blink when you didn't, the weightless hand, your limbs becoming impossibly light or impossibly heavy without physical cause." The gateway practice tonight. Attempt this ancient doorway technique. Lie in absolute darkness with one hand raised slightly. Count backward from 100 until your fingers feel detached. Visualize a silver thread connecting your heart to the raised hand. When the vibration begins, let the thread pull you through. Warning: the first time you succeed, you may feel an electric jolt as your soul snaps back to your body upon waking. This is normal. The most startling truth. After analyzing thousands of threshold experiences, researchers made an unsettling discovery. People who regularly access this state begin showing measurable changes in their waking reality, objects appearing or disappearing. electronics malfunctioning around them, impossible knowledge of future events. It seems the threshold doesn't just let you through, it lets the other side through too. Final words. Tonight, as you hover at the edge of sleep, remember, you stand at the most important doorway you'll ever encounter. The choice isn't whether to cross, but how often. For this threshold was never meant to be rare, it was meant to be home. Chapter 13. The Dreaming Body. When your flesh begins to remember what your mind forgot, your skin knows secrets your conscious mind has buried. Every scar hums with forgotten stories. Each fingerprint swirls with ancestral maps. The way you toss in sleep, the exact angle your head tilts when dreaming. These are not random. They are the body, speaking in a language older than words. Carl Jung's final, most radical notes revealed a truth that still shakes modern science. Your physical form dreams alongside your mind, and it never stops. The sleeping alphabet of flesh. Run your fingers along your forearm right now. Those goosebumps rising? They're not just from the cool night air. Your skin is whispering in its native tongue, the same language it uses when your legs jerk awake from a falling dream. Your sleeping hands clutch at phantom objects. Your lips mouth words your ears never heard. Neurologists at Cambridge have identified 47 distinct body dreams, physical movements that correspond to specific dream scenarios passed down through generations like somatic folklore. The case of the dancing spine. A ballet dancer came to Jung with an impossible symptom. Every night at 3:17 a.m., her spine would arch violently backward, though she slept motionless on camera. During these episodes, she dreamed of her great-grandmother, a renowned contortionist in 1890s Paris, who had been crushed by a collapsing stage. The terrifying truth? Her bones remembered the trauma her mind never knew. The science of cellular memory, muscle memory beyond metaphor. Transplant recipients often develop new movement patterns matching their donors' professions. The phenomenon occurs even when recipients know nothing about the donors. Epigenetic nightmares. Descendants of trauma survivors show identical sleep disturbances to their ancestors. These manifest at the same age the original trauma occurred. The gut's dream diary. 70% of serotonin production during REM sleep originates in the intestines. Your microbiome composition directly influences dream emotional tone. Dr. Rachel Kwan's controversial theory, we don't have bodies. We are bodies dreaming themselves into existence, night after night. 3 body dreams. You've already had the teeth dream. When molars grind in sleep, they're recreating ancestral survival responses. Modern triggers, unspoken truths you're biting back. The floating arm, that eerie weightlessness as you drift off. Your limbs are reenacting womb positions from gestation. The phantom touch dreams where someone grabs your wrist often correlate with unexplained bruises appearing in the same spot. The embodied dream practice. Tonight, become an archaeologist of your own flesh. Before sleep, trace your oldest scar with lavender oil. As you drift off, ask, what memory lives here? Upon waking, immediately sketch any sensations: heat, tingling, pressure. Compare notes with family medical histories. The revelation in the mirror. After decades of research, Jungian analysts made a chilling discovery. Patients who engaged in deep body dream work began spontaneously developing their ancestors' mannerisms, forgotten tribal tattoos as birthmarks, the ability to speak lost languages in trance states. It seems the body doesn't just remember, it yearns. Chapter 14. The Ancestral Dream Time. when the ghosts in your blood begin to speak. There are dreams that do not belong to you. They move through your nights like travelers passing through a borrowed house, leaving strange objects in drawers, rearranging furniture with invisible hands, whispering in languages your waking mouth can't shape, but your sleeping tongue fluently answers. Carl Jung's forbidden notebooks speak of this. What we call our dreams are often just the echoes of older dreamers. The inheritance of night place, your palm against your chest. Feel that pulse? That's not just your heartbeat. It's a drum passed hand to hand across centuries. Your blood carries more than oxygen. It carries the panic dreams of refugees, the lust dreams of conquerors, the vision dreams of burned witches. Geneticists now confirm trauma alters DNA expression for 14 generations. But what if joy does too? What if ecstasy? What if dreams? The Village in Her Sleep. A case from Jung's archives. A Boston housewife dreamed nightly of a Mediterranean fishing village she'd never visited. The smell of salt-crusted nets, the feel of sun-warmed stones under bare feet. The dreams grew so vivid, she began sleepwalking, cooking elaborate seafood dishes in perfect regional style. The mystery solved itself when she uncovered her genealogy. Her great-great-grandmother had been stolen from that exact village as a child. The recipes? They matched 19th-century coastal culinary manuscripts exactly. Her body had remembered what history books erased. The science of dream DNA revolutionary studies reveal memory methylation. Specific dream symbols correlate with epigenetic markers on trauma-related genes. These activate most powerfully during REM sleep, collective dream resonance. People sharing ancestry report identical dream landscapes. The effect persists, even in adoptees with no cultural exposure. Generational time loops. Dreams often replay ancestral crises at parallel life stages. A Holocaust survivor's grandchild dreams camp scenes at the same age their grandparent was imprisoned. Dr. Leora Baranis states, "We don't inherit trauma. We inherit unfinished dreams." 3 signs you're dreaming someone else's dream. The unfamiliar familiar, places you know but have never visited. The skill transfer, waking with abilities you never learned. The blood memory, tasting foods or smelling scents from extinct cultures. The ancestral dream. Dialogue tonight. Begin the conversation. Sleep with a family heirloom beneath your pillow. Ask aloud, whose dream am I dreaming tonight? Keep a red pen by your bed. Ancestral messages often appear in morning handwriting changes. Cook a dish from your heritage after powerful dreams. The most startling realization. After decades of research, anthropologists discovered indigenous tribes practicing ancestral dream work could accurately describe historical events 10+ generations back, lost settlement locations, extinct medicinal plants. Not through oral history, but through shared night visions.